Indoor greens and outdoor scenes design your space, let your garden dreams glide. Personal touch with our garden design, free sessions to blend within your budget line. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant, in every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you. Now everybody, let's say hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant, and every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you, just for you. In the morning sun, where the flowers bloom, colors blurs like a painter's dream come true. Roses red and violets blue, every petal whispers something new. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant, in every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you. Indoor greens and outdoor scenes design your space, let your garden dreams glide. Personal touch with our garden design, free sessions to blend within your budget line. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant, in every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you. Now everybody, let's say hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant, and every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you, just for you. In the morning sun, where the flowers bloom, colors blurs like a painter's dream come true. Roses red and violets blue. Every petal whispers something new. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant, in every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something.
Alright, hey everyone, welcome to our live Q&A with Chris. We can ask any gardening question you like today. Hey Chris, how you going?
Great, thanks. We're looking forward to one of our biggest weekends of the year coming up, Easter. We're open every day over Easter. There'll be big crowds of people through here for Easter.
Yeah,
so.
Do you want to tell people about something? We've got a live on Wednesday. You want to tell them a little bit about what's coming up this week?
So what it is, we've got 100 specials that we're doing live on Wednesday on your favourite platform at 12 o'clock, 100 specials. And these specials that come from our growers, direct from the growers, and we've hand-picked specials that are designed for you to be able to do your Easter gardening project. So Easter's a time when people come back to doing some gardening, and so this is a chance to do your whole Easter garden project at bargain prices. And there's little plants, there's advanced trees, there's exciting stuff, all sorts of stuff. So at 12 o'clock on Wednesday, and then what's happening is that on Thursday I'm doing a sneaky little live. We've put in this sneaky little live, and what it is, I've gone to one of the best advanced tree nurseries in Australia, and anyway, I've purchased a big lot of plants at great prices for advanced trees, and what we've got is we've got some of the biggest, best weeping cherries, autumn colour trees, weeping maples, standard maples, incredible collection. This is, if you wanted a feature tree, a big advanced feature tree at a not so advanced price, we've got a range. I think there's about 50 different sorts of trees going out, and they're all really well priced and big, beautiful stuff that you've never really seen before in a nursery. You'd never see this in your local nursery much. I think the silver birches are 4 meters tall, big white trunks on them, and they're really inexpensive. So that's Thursday, 12 o'clock. It's our sneaky little advanced tree one. So it's your chance to get that feature tree cheap.
Sounds great. Sounds like there's a lot going on, but we better get stuck. So we're open every day over Easter. That's probably the most important message. We're open, delivering and doing garden designs.
We're open, we're doing garden designs, and we're delivering
all Easter long weekend.
All Easter long.
Yeah, all Easter, every single day. Good Friday, Easter Monday, you name it. All right, so let's get stuck into today's open field. You can ask Chris a question about gardening or anything, as Chris likes to say, but we try to keep it gardening related. So the first one here comes to us from Katie on Instagram, asking any suggestion to fix clay soil where already established plants are. She can't remove without killing them. Soil is sloppy and grey and trees look unhappy. Magnolia is the tree.
Okay, you could get a fork and stick a fork in and aerate it a little bit, and then what you need to do, and it's a little bit hard to get, but get hold of some humic acid. There's a company, I don't sell it here unfortunately at the moment, it's something I plan to sell in the future, but there's a company down in they extract it from coal, and they're down, I think, in your lawn, that produces humic acid. You could track down humic acid, and if you irrigate soil with traces of humic acid, gradually that soil will become fabulous. And humic acid is millions of year old acid from decomposing organic life. So it's a very, some people put out products to break up clay, and they use sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid is rather a nasty thing to use in the environment, but humic acid, absolutely fabulous, and your plants will start to look really, really good. So humic acid and then a bit of aeration by poking a fork in the ground.
All right, perfect. And she just wanted to add to that, the back of the magnolia leaves are getting black dots on them, like mildew or mold. Would that be related? Or
I find that there's a lack of growth. I'd say when I see that, you'll see that there's a lack of new growth. I would perhaps add some Osmocote to the equation. So humic acid, some Osmocote, and a nice deep watering.
Perfect.
And maybe a bit of soil wetter, and then a nice deep watering, and then you'd really, so soil wetter, nice deep watering, a fork, and some humic acid.
all right, perfect. Hopefully that helps you out there, Katie. All right, let's move along to our next question. Coming to us from Trevor here. Why are polygala dropping dead all of a sudden? Polygalas.
I reckon polygalas are one of the toughest things around. So you'd have some polygalas and you'd have a garden bed, and they wouldn't seem to wilt or suffer in the dry that we've and it's been unbelievably dry really since the middle of December. We had really good rains up to the middle of December, and then there's hardly been a drop of rain since, and I've noticed that it's been drying out down deep in the ground, and I reckon your polygalas might have just run out of water. And they're a thing that don't wilt or anything like that. They don't sort of show that they're suffering away quietly, and then they just give up the will and go.
Okay, is there any way you can bring them back, or that's it?
Well, once they're dead, not really, not without performing a miracle. But if you've got ones that haven't died, give them a good deep soak. Maybe use a bit of, like, really for anybody with plants that are, like we've it's been right through South Australia and right through Victoria. Really, like, it's from certainly I think in South Australia it's been even longer. But we had a dryish winter, a dryish spring, a bit of good rain in late spring, and then nothing really right through the summer.
Nothing. It's been super dry, yeah.
So if you could have, I noticed as I've driving around, I'm noticing a lot of things autumn colouring early. So we've got early autumn colour. That's plants sort of, relieving themselves of the stress of holding onto their foliage. So a way of dealing with that is to get some soil wetter. Go down and get one of them old-fashioned soaker hoses and get a soaker hose and just slowly get the water into the ground. Let it get in nice and deep, and a bit of soil wetter will help get the water down through the dry ground. And not just polygalas, but lots and lots of plants are looking pretty dry and miserable now. And we've got a little bit of rain over the next week. There's nothing like irrigating in the rain.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
give it that double soak, yeah?
So if you use soil water, utilise a bit of a wet period, and then deep, slow soak, you'll do great.
Lovely. And then just circling back to Katie, she just wants to know what the spelling of that acid is, please.
Humic, Humic. And it's a thing in Australia, it's extracted from coal.
All right, there you go, Katie.
And I don't know the name of the company, but there's a company that does it down in your lawn, and they would distribute that out through other people. So if you track that down, that is really the way. When you've got established plant, the only good way I know is to use humic acid, a bit of aeration, even a bit of pine bark mulch on top could help a little bit, but humic acid's the real answer.
All right, lovely. All right, so this next question comes to us from Darcy on TikTok, asking, what's the best way to get rid of harlequin bugs?
Gee, I don't know. When you get them, you really get them. They're everywhere.
What are they? Are they like a...
They're a little brightly coloured bug, and whenever I've seen them, like, you never see one harlequin, you see like 4,000 of them. And I've got no idea. Like, they're a big bug. Some old-fashioned, real nasty chemicals would knock them off, but then do you really want to have that?
Yeah.
Actually...
What about like lady beetles or something like that going in? Are they
no, they're too big for that. Actually, it's an interesting thing. When I was a kid, there was an earwig plague, a giant earwig plague, and a lot of people had their gardens almost destroyed by it. There was just millions of them everywhere. And I was working as a gardener when I was just a child, but I was working as a gardener for a lady. And at any rate, what she did, and she was able to stem the tide of it, what she did was she washed and cleaned up soup cans and fruit cans and things like that she opened, and she screwed up newspaper and put it in there, and the earwigs would hide inside there, and she'd go around with a bucket of boiling water and shake the contents out into the boiling water and kill them. And
Wow.
what was interesting was she still had earwigs in her garden, but she didn't have a plague like every other person in the district. Everyone had a terrible plague. Their garden was being decimated. And she was able to protect and keep her garden going with that. And you could actually try something like that. Just newspaper screwed up in the front of a can and see if the harlequin bugs hide in there. Then you shake it out into hot water and they're gone.
Cool. Okay, there you go, Darcy. Yeah, he just said he's got an infestation all over his fruit trees,
Yeah, well, try something like that.
like a home remedy
Yeah,
style. Okay,
yeah.
cool. All right, and just for those of you who are watching us, asking us questions, keep asking your gardening questions away. And if you ever want to replay this live, we have it up on YouTube after we're finished. You can go back and watch the live again if you missed anything Chris said. All right, cool. So next question here comes to us from Bear the cattle dog. I have frangipanis that will not grow. They flower, but very slow growing.
So, what you need for frangipanis is they come from areas that you need to cultivate around the base. You want to have them growing in a little heat trap somewhere, like a spot that's out of cold winds, and maybe it's like a sort of a courtyard area or something like that, where you've got surrounding them. I imagine that you're growing them in a Victorian type climate, but you want to have them in a bit of a heat trap, cultivate around them, and then they love their summer water. Like, so plenty of water in the summer and plenty of water, plenty of osmocote through the summer, and a bit of a heat, grow them in a heat trap, and you should be able to get them growing. And what I've found is that in Victoria, the one that really grows well is the white one with the yellow centre, the white frangipani with the yellow centre. The coloured ones really never seem to do anything.
What's that one called, the white one? Is it just white frangipani?
There's a couple of different names for them, but any of the white ones with the yellow centre all seem to do well in Victoria. So basically, if you want to grow a frangipani in Victoria, you'd buy a white one with a yellow centre in the flower, and you would plant it in a hot area, sort of a bit of a heat trap, and lots of summer water, a little bit of osmocote, and you should have it growing and flowering. And I've seen some beautiful big frangipanis, and we even did a video about one. I've seen some beautiful big frangipanis just in the right spot in different spots in Victoria.
Yeah, I think you've done a couple of videos of them growing quite large in Victoria. Okay, well there you go, Bear the cattle dog. Not sure where you're from, but if you are in Victoria, that hopefully answers your question. All right, next one comes to us from Sunday's Vibe. Best time to plant Leighton greens, about 50 centimetres tall, Goulburn.
Okay, I actually reckon right now. Leighton's green are interesting. They're a hybrid cross between a Macrocarpa cypress, which comes from around near San Francisco, and an Alaskan cypress. And so the Alaskan cypress seems to, and that part of it has created something that grows all year round. They grow every day of the year. I've even had customers planting them in places like Coombe with unbelievable frost in the winter, and they still grow through the winter. So they'll grow every day. So if you put your Leightons in now, it'll grow right through the winter. So put them in, use a bit of soil water, use a bit of osmocote when you do it, water them well, and you'll have them growing right through the winter, and you'll have something strong and established by the time summer comes. So I reckon right now would be a great time to be planting them, so that you've got that bit of warmth now, a bit of root growth, and then you've got them growing all winter long.
All right, there you go. Sunday's Vibe. That should answer your question there on the Leighton greens and the best time to grow them. Keep the questions coming, guys. Chris will answer your gardening questions live on the show right now. You can ask any question you have about your garden. If you want to improve it, or you want to know when to grow something, or can something grow in pots, now's the time to ask to get some expert advice. All right, our next question here. This comes from Suzanne. What are the best plants for beginners to start with? It doesn't really say what kind of garden they're going for
I can handle that. Like from a when I get people in here who maybe just bought their first home and they're just starting on their first garden, and they've never planted or gardened or done anything before, and my goal is to give them a win. Like let's have something that wins for them and make them feel like they can garden. And so I sell them things that they absolutely can't kill. And say I'd look very much at their spot, but things like Coprosma, you virtually can't kill a Coprosma. A Little Gem Magnolia, very, very hard to kill. And also the other thing that I sell them is I'll tend to sell them things that aren't too expensive, so that if they did happen to kill it, they wouldn't have a big loss. So basically, when a new gardener comes in here, I want them to not have a big loss if they're going to have a loss, and I want them to win. And so I pick out the very, very hardiest plants. So depending on, so I'm going to give you a list of some plants that are the sort of things that I would use. Say in a tree, crepe myrtle. I've almost never had a person come back to me and say, look, that crepe myrtle died. So crepe myrtle, beautiful thing. You can get them with all different coloured flowers, beautiful autumn coloured, lovely trunks on them. If you Google and look at crepe myrtle, look at the trunk, look at the autumn colour, look at the blossom, they're fantastic. And I almost never had anyone say that their crepe myrtle died. So in a tree, a crepe myrtle would be a great beginner tree. Then if you were looking for a bush, something like an Escallonia. We've got some beautiful white flowering ones and some beautiful pink flowering ones, and I can't remember the last time somebody said their Escallonia failed. So Escallonia would be a great bush, and you've got little dwarf ones with pink flowers, you've got sort of medium ones with pink flowers, you've got medium ones with white flowers. So Escallonia, really great sort of starting point. And then I said the Little Gem Magnolia, that's a small tree or a hedge or a screen or something like that. Little Gem, really, really hardy, really easy to grow. And then in sort of your smaller border, you know, your Nandinas. Now we've got red Nandinas, we've got kind of orangey Nandinas, we've got beautiful green Nandinas, and Nandinas are a dwarf sacred bamboo, and they're almost unkillable. People put them around factories, they sort of abandon them in the most terrible spots. And then surprisingly, what you'll find is roses, particularly your carpet roses, but your iceberg roses, your carpet roses, very, very easy to establish and very easy to grow. So iceberg roses and carpet roses, really, really easy. And then another great plant, and you can make borders that you never need to trim, is Society Garlic. Now Society Garlic grows in any soil, swampy, dry, what it doesn't seem to matter much, grows really easy. So there's some plants that, but basically
beginner-friendly plants.
Yeah. So if you go to a good nurseryman, tell them you're starting out, and tell them that you want to win. You want to plant something and have it succeed, and that's what you need to do with a new gardener, and then minimise the losses by not selling them anything too super expensive, because that super expensive plant seems to be the one that kills over.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, if you've just joined us, the question was, what are the best plants for beginners to start with? Chris just rattled off, how many do you reckon was that? It was like
about 9 or so.
Nine plants. If you did miss it, or you want to re-watch the live, after about 1:45 today, you'll be able to watch this live again. We do post it up on our YouTube channel, where you can watch any of our previous lives, and you want to get some expert advice from Chris, the horticulturalist himself. All right, great. Let's move along to our next question here. Chris, you've how many years of experience? You're 60 plus years, aren't you? Experience.
Well, it depends. Yeah, I'm 69, and I remember, like, as soon as I could get out in the paddock, get my boots on and get out in the paddock, I might have only been 3 or 4. I was out there helping my dad. And when I was 7, I went and got myself a gardening job. But my dad had that at age 7. My dad had a flower farm and a nursery, and we used to work in that in our spare time. And my mum was a very keen gardener, and we would help her from time to time in the garden. So really, 69, started when I was 3 or 4 helping out my parents.
Yeah, so plenty of years of experience and advice here for you today. So don't be shy, ask your gardening questions. We are getting plenty through. We'll try to get to everyone's gardening question today on this live Q&A, and have your questions answered live. All right, next one comes to us from Sunday's Vibe again, asking, what's the best fast-growing tree for shade for cattle? Must also be cattle safe in Goulburn again.
I'm thinking in the old stockyards and things out there, what you see peppercorns, and you see white cedars and Melia azedarac, which is the white cedar. Now what's interesting is that the whites, I've seen them grow in the driest, the most difficult spots. And do you know that the white cedar is actually a tropical rainforest tree? And somehow they seem to be able to grow in deserts or grow anywhere. But I've also been up in the rainforest up in North Queensland and seen them, and they're the most amazing, beautiful, big, straight, giant rainforest tree. And then you see them, you know, but anyway, I've seen lots and lots of stockyards and lots of sale yards and things like that in sort of outback New South Wales and outback Victoria. And Mealia azedarac, and then and I remember I was sort of out in the back blocks out back of Mexico City, and you see the really dry deserty country, and you see the peppercorns flourishing, and peppercorns seem to flourish. And you have, with the peppercorn, you've kind of got to get it through the first couple of years of frost. You could actually grow them in a pot in a sheltered area and get them up 5 or 6 foot tall and get them out in the open area. But so peppercorns and Mealia azedarac are both really good trees for that, you know, for dry sort of outback kind of country.
And for the cattle to sort of get shade.
Yeah, and they're traditional, they're Australia's traditional sort of cattle yard trees.
Great. All right, there you go, Sundays vibe. Hopefully that helps you out there. There's 2 choices of very good trees to grow in that sort of country. All right, next question we have from Dino asking, or saying they've got a rose that's been in the family since 1890. What's the best time to take cuttings?
You could try taking cuttings in winter, and what you want is you use a piece of new wood and you kind of cut it off where the new wood starts down into the hardwood, and then you'd put it in a pot of nice, loose, moist, well-drained soil, and put it in 2/3 of its length into the, you know, cut something about 8 or 9 inches tall and put 4 or 5 inches, 5 inches of it into the ground to give it a good chance to root. But if it doesn't root from a hardwood, a lot of roses do, then you might have to get someone to graft it. But I'd love to, if sometime you emailed me a photograph of a flower, I'd love to have a look at a really old rose like that and learn a bit more about it. Like, I think a lot of people bring out new varieties of things all the time, but some of the old varieties are really interesting.
Yeah,
so
well, the old varieties are the fragrant ones, aren't they? The more fragrant,
well, there tends to be more fragrance was more. I think fragrance was desired more in the olden days, and so a lot of the older roses are very fragrant, and a lot of the modern roses are lacking in fragrance.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Dino. Well, if you want, you can email and attention that to Chris, sales@hellohelloplants.com.au. If you want to send him a picture, that's sales@hellohelloplants.com.au. And also, if we miss anyone's questions today, you can also just email us a question on the sales email, can't they, Chris?
Yeah, and you really got to do your hardwood cutting of roses or your hardwood cutting of anything by about mid-June.
Okay, mid-June. There you go, Dino. All right, let's move along to another question we have here. This one comes to us from Facebook. Jess asking, best small tree or standard plant for a half-day full sun in a pot? I think she means that in a pot plant.
Best small tree.
Best small tree or standard.
Yep.
For a half day of full sun in a pot.
Okay, so there's an incredible range of Japanese maples available. Like one that comes to mind immediately is a Shana, and a Shana is a beautiful compact maple, amazing pink in the spring, sort of reds and browns and various colours, and incredible scarlet in the autumn, and it's a compact maple. You can get it as a standard, or you can get it just grafted down low with the bush coming up from the bottom. But that would be a good starting point, or maybe a nice little small weeping one. So look at your maples, and I think and maples can seem to thrive and do, with a bit of care, can thrive and do well in a pot year after year after year, 10, 12, 15 years in a pot, no worries.
All right, perfect, Jess. So maple's your choice for that one?
Yeah, maple's a choice, and maybe start looking at a Shana, maybe a weeper like an Inaba Shadare, but I'd start off looking at maples.
Yeah, and actually right now you've got some really good deals on the maples on the Growers Direct flash sale. So if you head over to our website, you can, I think there was one there, it was like more than 2/3 off or something, one of the bigger maples. Anyway, if that tickles your fancy there, just check us out on hellohelloplants.com.au and head over to our most recent Growers Direct flash sale. You'll see all of our deals that are going on right now.
Yeah, now I'm just going to suggest one other thing. Something that is really an acquired taste, but you could Google and have a look at this. Anyone could Google and have a look at this, but there's a thing called a Carokia. And I notice when I'm doing garden designs and helping people with their garden, and I show them a Carokia, 3 out of 5 people hate the look of a Carokia, but I love Carokias. I think they're fantastic. They've got incredible character. They're like a natural bonsai. They look like a natural bonsai that's been caught in a bushfire. And I mean,
How do you spell it?
What's that?
How do you spell them?
Carokia, Corokia.
Okay.
So if
What's
you,
that for the potted plant? Or
Oh, they're as a sort of a potted, and they're kind of a natural bonsai. So for in a half day sun, I thought I should offer something more than a maple, and I thought a really interesting thing. But what's interesting is when you go and look at it, you're either going to hate it or love it, or you can come in the nursery. I've got a few of them sort of hidden out the back. But Carokia, you'll love it or you hate it. People go, wow, give me one of those, or they go, ooh, don't want those. Yeah, they're a funny thing. They're an acquired taste. Not everybody
Okay.
likes them.
we'll just put the
But
QR.
they're worth anybody to have a look at for a small sort of tree to grow in a small to medium pot in half day sun. Perfect choice. Only if you like it.
Awesome. And we've just put the QR code up on the screen there for our flash sale that's currently live. And we're going to be doing the flash sale again this Wednesday at 12 o'clock. Chris will be going over some new items that are going to be added and sort of reshuffled with our current Easter sales items that we have. All right, there you go, Jess. Hopefully that helps you out there with that question. We've got a bit of I would say, controversial sort of question here. Why do you sell those beastly agapanthus? We sort of sell all sorts of stuff though, don't we? Like,
Yeah. I don't like agapanthus much myself, but say for instance, when I drive up to Shepparton, and as you drive into Shepparton, there's an olive grove there, and there's a beautiful old house there that they do wedding receptions at, and a lovely limestone driveway coming in, and on either side of the driveway they've got big white agapanthus, and they've got thousands of them, and it's the most amazing display. And I think that planted properly and done properly in the right situation, I think that even the big agapanthus, which in the average little suburban garden can look a bit gross, and then what you've got is you've got small agapanthus, and a lot of your small agapanthus, like your snowball agapanthus, are sterile. So a person who's not wanting an agapanthus to go wild can come in here and get a sterile agapanthus, and those other ones, like in that situation there, it's the most glorious feature of that particular olive grove is their beautiful agapanthus entrance. So I think done properly, agapanthus can look really great. And what looks bad is kind of just mixed blue and white, growing wild, kind of looks terrible.
Yeah.
Going wild, where somebody dumps them and they go wild into the bush, doesn't look too good either. But
Did the council used to use them back in the day? Because they seem to be in like older country towns, like the.
Yeah, well, look, what it is that they're a very easy plant to grow, and they're something that people, when I was a kid, most people got most of their garden from the neighbours. Like people now buy all their garden from a nursery, but in the old days, like going back 60 odd years ago, people would chop off pieces and give it and say, look, you need some plants at your house. I'll chop off a piece of this agapanthus and you can put it in, And that's how. Seriously, that's what happened. And you'd visit somebody, you'd visit your auntie or something like that.
That's how mixed cottage gardens were born.
Yeah,
isn't
that's
it?
right. And your mum would come home with an armful of all little bits of, a little bit of lamb's ears and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. She'd bring it home from your auntie's place and plant it in your garden. And agapanthus really lend themselves to that type of propagation. It's kind of like, I consider it to be sort of like a horticultural socialism where anybody can have a garden because they can share bits and pieces.
All right, there you go. Well, look, it's not to everyone's taste, but they can look good when planted correctly.
Yeah, agapanthus, and there are sterile varieties around. So there's sterile agapanthus that people can do, and really, I've never seen a bit of bush that was overwhelmed by agapanthus. Like agapanthus does spread into places where it's not wanted, but it's not overly aggressive, I don't think. I've never seen them go berserk through a whole, like 1,000 acres of agapanthus somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's move
Like
along.
you would, there's been thousands of acres of prickly pear and blackberries,
All
but
sorts of
never,
stuff, yeah.
never of agapanthus.
Yeah, no worries. All right, let's move along to our next question. This one is, what is a good hedge for a large property, poor soil? Does that
Okay.
depend on the height of the hedge? It just says,
That-
what is a good hedge?
Okay, so I'm going to imagine that we're in Victoria,
Yeah.
and my first thought is Photinia robusta,
Yeah.
and that'll grow almost anywhere in any soil, have a very moderate water requirement, and getting a bit tougher than that would be a callistemon, requires even less water and is even tougher. And there's a beautiful callistemon called Callistemon Slim, and it's a kind of a compact, dense grower. And because it's kind of dense and compact, when it flowers, it flowers so densely that you can almost can't see the leaves for beautiful red bottlebrush flowers. And so Callistemon Slim, and the only thing is that that's a patented one. It'll be a little bit dearer, but there's other callistemons. So callistemons, poor soils, hot, dry conditions, fabulous, and they'll even take a bit of wet feed in a gully or something like that. And then there's also some really good, if you're in a desperately terrible place, you really can't beat, I can't think of the proper Latin name for it, but there's an upright bushy myoporum that really would grow in the driest, worst, most difficult spots. So but basically there's myoporum's mostly used as a ground cover, but there's bush type myoporum that grow a couple of meters tall, and I've seen them growing in the most difficult situations imaginable. So in the most difficult situation, myoporum, fairly difficult callistemon, and pretty tough Photinia robusta.
Okay, there you go. That's 3 options for your DJs. And then also, didn't you mention spindlebush or Tom Thumb is good as in the poor soil, or someone had it out in?
Oh yeah, so Tom
that
Thumb,
different?
and that more as a low border.
Oh, okay, more. Yeah,
I'm
okay.
talking
about
there
hedging,
hedges, something that's going to grow a few meters tall
that's all
fairly
right.
quickly.
All right, cool. There you go. There's 3 options for your DJs. Again, if you missed this live, you can rewatch it on YouTube in about 20 minutes if you want to go back and hear any of Chris's answers. All right, we're getting along with our questions here. Someone just made a comment saying pinks and yellow daisies said they saw white agapanthus under white crepe myrtles in Ballarat and looked amazing.
Yeah, look, a beautiful display of agapanthus is absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, next one here from Mohammed on Facebook says, could you suggest a small tree with non-invasive roots with changing leaf colour?
Okay, that's easy. I used to be a gopher, like go and find things for one of the leading garden designers in Melbourne back in the early 70s. And what it was, there was no advanced tree nurseries around much then. And I would go out and up in the hills, and I'd buy trees out of people's gardens, and dig them up and bring them back into, to go into, jobs in Toorak and things like that. And what I found, and so I had to hand dig. I used to go with a shovel and I'd hand dig up great big trees that 3 and 4 meters tall. Some trees would take me a whole day to dig them up by hand. But that was an interesting experience, because what I discovered is that your Japanese maple seems to have less root and less big roots than any other decent sized tree. And your Japanese maple you can get all sorts of Japanese maples with all different sort of coloured leaves and coloured autumn colours, but they all have the one common root system. And that root system is really, I've dug up Japanese maples that were 15 and 20 years old, and the roots are not bad at all. So basically, Japanese maple, best tree for a small root system and fabulous colour turning in the autumn, and you get all different sorts with all different sort of colour turnings.
All right, perfect. There you go, Mohammed. Hopefully that answers your question there. Japanese maple seems to be the go. All right, let's move along. Jump back over quickly to TikTok, where Callie asks, just had her snake plant flower. It's in a pot. Should I put it in the ground? I didn't know they flowered, actually.
No, they do flower. and no, you don't have to. Like, you could divide
in
it
the
and
pot?
put it in 2 pots, or you could put it in. Now, one thing is, depending where you live, your snake plant, snake. Oh, I think it's spiders. Now, snake plant flower. That's interesting. I haven't seen a snake plant flower.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
Yeah.
too. I haven't seen them flower
And-
before, but
And you might keep it in a pot. You might even at this stage divide it and put it into
break
2
it up.
pots.
Yeah.
But you in Victoria with our cold, wet winters, the snake plant can be really at risk. So out in Melbourne winter, so I wouldn't rush. I'd maybe split it up, put it into 2 pots, put it into a bigger pot if you didn't want to split it up, and keep it under shelter for the winter.
Okay. So should the snake plants be moved inside for Melbourne winter, or?
Or at least under cover. Like
Okay.
frost and heavy rain could be a real problem for them.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. There you go, Callie. All right. Let's move along back over to Instagram. How do you grow box hedge balls from small plants? Do you combine more than one plant, or you just do it with one plant?
You're right on the money. What it is, they take English box, or any of your box style plants can take a long time to make a ball, and if you plant 2 or 3 of them together, you'll make your ball in maybe a third or a quarter of the time that it takes to do it with one plant. So that's a great idea. And I've been making some big balls, like really big balls, for sort of very modern style landscapes. And I'm using a thing called Coprosma kirkii. Now, Coprosma kirkii grows at 15 times the speed of an English box, and I'm using 6 or 7 of them, and I'm making balls that are like 1.5 meters across and 1 meter tall. And they do it, and by clumping them, you can do it very, very quickly, and I'll get these big, spectacular, and you can do a front garden with 1 or 2 trees and 4 or 5 of these balls, and it could be a whole, and then just put sand or something like that around it, and it gives you a very minimalistic, slightly Japanesey kind of a landscape really quickly and easily. So
Wow,
multi-planting.
okay. So you can put them close together then?
Yeah. Well, no, I win them because I'm making a very big ball. I spread them out a bit,
Oh, yeah.
and they're quite a big, fast-growing plant. So you can make a ball really, really quickly.
All right, there you go.
But there's English box, there's Japanese box, there's Tom Thumb, there's Green Rocket, and they're all plants you could multi-plant and make beautiful big balls with quickly.
Perfect. All right, let's move along to our next one here. Next question comes to us from Elise. Hey guys, my Irish moss I've purchased from you is going great, but a few of them have holes and are going yellow. How do I fix this?
Right. Okay. So we had where we're farming them, we had that happen a little bit, and we've fertilised and watered them, and I think some of them got just a bit hot in summer. And with a bit of fertiliser and plenty of water and everything like that, they seem to be able to recover as we move into the cooler weather. So where I had quite a few sunburned holes and things like that in summer, those holes are closing up, and it's just a matter of a bit of extra Osmocote and a bit of extra water, and you're in business.
Cool. And would you suggest moving them to like a shadier spot, or?
No, I think we had a pretty hot summer, and I think just feed them and water them, and they'll grow over.
All right, perfect. There you go, Elise. All right, so next one here comes to us from Butter asking, please tell me about Prunus nigra.
Okay, Prunus nigra is one of my favourite trees, and the reason why I like it is that they've got pink blossom, beautiful soft pink blossom in springtime, and then beautiful rich dark purple, the best of all your sort of plums, and that beautiful rich dark purple foliage in the summer. Now what's special to me about the Prunus nigra is that a lot of the things like forest pansy and your Japanese maples with purple leaves are a little bit delicate. So if you've got a hot windy spot, or you've got terrible soil or something like that, they're not going to do so good. So if you maybe out in a rural area or an industrial area or something like that, if you want, there's nothing like putting a bit of deep purple into the landscape. And so if you're in windy, poor soil, dry, very tough conditions, you can grow a Prunus nigra and get that beautiful purple colour, and you've got the bonus of your pink spring blossom. You can get it in the most difficult situations. And there's a great example. There's a factory up Sydney Road as you head up towards Cooper Street there, and they've got a nice modern architect designed factory, and they've got a row of them, and they've all been trimmed into a nice shape, and they look absolutely fabulous when they're in when they're in pink blossom and when they're in that beautiful purple colour. And the other things that I like about them is that they're a small tree. They never get too big, and they love to be trimmed. I notice when you watch Escape to the Country, which is that show where you're looking at country properties in England, the English actually trim them. I've never seen it done here, but they trim them into lovely little square hedges. So you've got these beautiful purple square hedges. You see that on Escape to the Country.
Oh yeah, they love that over in the UK, don't they?
Yeah,
I've seen that.
little purple square hedges. So very versatile. So you have these beautiful, lovely trees. You can trim them into nice shapes. They stay small. You can grow them in poor soils, hot conditions, dry conditions, cold conditions,
Full
and
sun,
windy
yeah,
conditions.
as well.
Full sun, no worries. They'll pretty much take anything you can dish out and then give you that rich purple colour, which most other things with that rich purple colour are that little bit delicate, and you've got to be careful about the soil and the position and everything like that. So they're a really good versatile plant, and also as purple plants go, they tend to be fairly cheap too, because they're fairly easy for nurserymen to propagate.
All right, there you go, Batal. Hopefully that helps you get everything you want to know about Prunus nigris. All right, we're going to be wrapping up this live very shortly. We'll just circle back a few more questions here. If you have any last minute gardening questions or any suppressed questions that you felt like you should have asked and haven't asked yet, Chris is here, can answer them live for you on the show. I'll just circle back to Elise here on Instagram. She was just asking, she had the question about the Irish moss with the holes and going yellow. She just said also, how far should I plant them apart? They're in a planter box.
Right,
And
okay.
They're currently planted about 60 centimetres apart, and she wants them to join.
Okay, if I was wanting them to join, I'd go a bit closer. I'd probably go about 35 centimetres. Now, one thing you could chop them in half and spread them out a bit, and that'll get them to cover more quick, and plant them like 35 centimetres apart, and they'll cover fairly quickly. And I do notice that they love a feed. A bit of Osmocote really seems to help.
All right, cool. How far apart did you say again? It was
About 35 centimetres.
all right. So one in between what she's got it. Yeah. Okay, great. Now we'll start joining up Elise. All right, next question from Kat asking, how can I make my bottle brush more bushy? It's currently over 2 meters high and very sticky looking.
Okay, what I do is I give it a bit of a feed now, a bit of fertiliser like Osmocote. Give it a bit of a feed now. Give it a good deep water. Have it really set up so it's really happy and doing fabulously well through the winter. And then you sneak up on it in about 10th of September and chop it back, chop it in half. And so what you do is you build up the strength because you want it to boom away in spring, and then just before it starts its spring growth spurt, you chop it right back and you'll find it'll bush up and go crazy.
So in December, did you say you cut it back
No,
hard?
September, about
September,
10th of
okay.
September.
Yeah.
Because what we want to do is we want it to photosynthesize and build up as much strength as it can through the winter, and we chop it back hard just before its big growth surge, and it'll bush right up for you.
All right, awesome. You can try that, Kat.
Yeah, so chop it in half about the 10th of September.
There you go, Kat. Very specific timing. You might want to pop it in your calendar.
Yeah.
You can pop it in there now. Cut back the, the bushy, get it bushy again for your bottle brush.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to wrap up very shortly. Just circle back to Katie. She might have missed it because
Humic.
yeah, you
Humic
said
acid,
it before, didn't you?
Humic. Humic.
Humic. Oh, it's very phonetical. the
Humic
spelling.
acid.
All right, so Katie was the one who had the question about the clay soil and wanting to aerate it and break up the clay. All right, just check this one here. Okay, so Mona asks, my camellias are drying out from the top and it's spreading down. What could be the cause? The roots are also not expanding in the soil. I removed and repotted them in pots. Should I prune now?
Okay, so dying down from the top would tend to suggest perhaps drying out. Also, camellias really need acidic soil. And I often tell people to get fine crushed pine bark and top dress them with fine crushed pine bark, so that when you water them, you've got acidity coming out of the pine bark and raining down on them. Camellias love Osmocote. Whenever you buy big healthy camellias from a good camellia grower, you look in the bottom and there's mountains of little Osmocote hulls, you know, because they've been chucking Osmocote on them. So they love their food, they love acidic conditions. Acidity can be created with, we talked about humic acid before, so you can use humic acid on them. You can use your crushed pine bark, will help with the acidity. And so I'd be, you could certainly prune off the dead bits now, or you could wait till you start to see a bit of spring growth. So I'd be looking at fertilizer, I'd be looking at crushed pine bark, I'd be looking at maybe a bit of humic acid, and I would say that what caused the decline is possibly dry soil that's dry deep down, or soil that's not acidic enough. They're about the only two things that'll stop a camellia is alkaline or neutral kind of soil, and it's got to be acidic, and then dryness. Apart from that, you really can't stop a camellia. And what makes camellias grow is acidity and fertilizer and water.
Okay, all right. So we get those things in, it should start picking up again?
Yeah, so that should, so acidity, fertilizer and water is really the key. And if you, like a lot of people would have camellias now that have been sitting there not wilting or complaining at all, but they're probably very, very dry from a long dry summer, and you couldn't go wrong, you know, putting a soaking hose and putting a bit of Osmocote on them, and then putting on a soaking hose and getting the water in nice and deep. And then
what's the sequence? Do you do the humic acid first? Or?
Humic acid anytime.
Okay.
Soil wetter first, Osmocote, and then a deep soak with a soaking hose.
All right, there you go, Mona. That should get you. And if you missed any of that, you can go to our YouTube channel, watch this video back, the live that we're currently in. If you missed any of Chris's advice on getting your camellias coming back to life and stopping them from drying out. All right, I think we'll have to leave it there, but thank you to everyone for your questions today. We hope you enjoyed the live. Make sure to leave us a like on your way out.
And join me Wednesday at 12 o'clock on your favourite platform, and we're going to be unveiling 100 bargains, every different type of plant you can think of, 100 bargains for your Easter project, all going really, really cheap. Great deals.
Yeah, and we're open all Easter long weekend, open, delivering free garden designs. You can hook up free garden designs, still head over to hellohelloplants.com.au, and you can look at our current Growers Direct flash sale bargains, which is on the screen right now. If you're watching us, every platform except TikTok can see it. There's a QR code here, which is displayed. You can use that QR code to go check the specials right now. All right, guys, thanks for joining us, and Chris will be back next Monday with another, oh, actually, no. Next Monday, you won't be back with a live Q&A. Maybe Tuesday, because of the public holiday.
Yeah, Tuesday, public holiday, live Q&A.
All right,
12 o'clock. See you later. Bye.